Thank you. My name is Butterfield. I'm the CEO for Boulder Wind Power. It's a new startup up in Boulder. I represented the wind industry here on the steering committee, and it was very exciting for me. I left Enron after 24 years of service, and it was partly because of the climate here, the business climate in Colorado, that I left to pursue a new company. And it was that company that has inspired me and opened my eyes to what can happen here in Colorado. I think that the important thing that I realized is that if I was going to start a company here in Colorado, I was going to have to be able to attract some of the best and the brightest in the industry and from all over the world. And I realized that I could do that. Colorado offers that kind of natural climate and intellectual climate. So I think it was with that sort of realization that we sit in a very unique place that I started off on this company. But I think one of the things that I realized from sitting on the steering committee is that this report really kind of catalyzed my notions of what it would take to start a company here in Colorado. I think that what it showed was the strong elements that are really emerging here are already sort of in the process. Wind, solar, bio-derived, and smart grid technologies are already being incubated here. But it's going to take more than just that incubation. It's going to take more than the current situation. I think if you look at companies like Vestas, Vestas is the largest wind turbine company in the world. They're located here in Colorado. They have 4 plants that make some of the largest wind turbine blades in the world, nacelles, and now even a research office. They employ 1,200 people and they've spent more than $1 billion on their facilities. Now, that sounds like a lot, but in the wind industry, the whole U.S. wind industry, there's 85,000 people employed by the wind industry. They spent more than $21 billion last year alone, and that is growing. And much of those are employed by states that have a fraction of the resources, the natural and intellectual resources that we have here in Colorado. So I think the question is not, do we have the resources? The question is, how do we cement and accelerate and capitalize on the resources that we do have? So I think that it's this report that spells out that roadmap. And I think it's a compelling roadmap. And it shows that it's ours in Colorado's leadership that can bring all of this about. I think that the things that brought companies like Vestas to Colorado are access to natural resources. We happen to be in one of the wind's corridors, or actually the wind corridor of the United States. We're sort of right in the middle of it. And obviously we're in the middle of the solar corridor. And so it's that brought Vestas, as well as easy access to railroads and highways, available land, a large pool of skilled labor and intelligent skilled labor, engineers, proximity to universities, research centers like NREL, CSU, NCAR, and so on. So it's those things that bring this kind of company to Colorado. But it's not just these major companies. It's the second-tier suppliers that they bring along with them. That multiplies what we get out of bringing some of these large companies to our state. So how do we attract more of them? How do we really cement this? How do we make Cleantech a central and sort of core part of our economic engine? I think that's the question that we have. That is the economy that we want to stimulate. We can't go back to the old economy. We have to move forward to the new economy, and Cleantech is the new economy. This report spells out that roadmap. It talks about creation of markets and how to create markets. Transmission to help create some of those markets. It talks about how we could access more capital. And capital is one of the things we have to bring into the state if we're going to spawn new companies like ours. How do you bring people in? How do you offer relocation incentives? Other states like Iowa are doing this. And they're being very successful at it. They're bringing manufacturing facilities into states that really are not known for manufacturing. And here, all of a sudden, Vestas is forming a new manufacturing climate in Colorado. And access to research centers. I mean, that's really key. Siemens just started a research center in Boulder. They did it because they could get access to Enron. That's been working very well. And so, if you look to other states and what they're doing, Massachusetts and California have seized the opportunity and created a whole clean tech environment, a clean tech economy that they're pushing and thriving. But I can tell you, as someone who grew up in Massachusetts, they have a fraction of the natural resources that we have to offer here in Colorado. And so the only question here is, how do we stimulate leadership? How do we stimulate policy to continue to attract these ingredients, the remaining ingredients, the ingredients that we don't have, the ones I just mentioned? This plan spells out that roadmap. I think it does it very well. Thank you.